Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight's webinar. I'm Allison Locke, your technical moderator and organizer for tonight's event. Before we get started, just some housekeeping items so that you know how to participate in tonight's webinar. You have joined the webinar using your computer speaker system by default. I do recommend you continue listening with your computer audio so that you can hear the videos that are presented in tonight's webinar. However, you can also listen by dialing in on a telephone. You would do this by hitting the audio tab on your control bar. To switch between the two, simply click on the circle next to your preferred feature. If joining via mic and speakers, it's recommended that you wear a headset or headphones to help avoid audio echo. You are in listen-only mode. That simply means that your microphones are muted so that we not get any feedback from your end, but we do welcome questions through the seminar. To ask questions in tonight's webinar, you would simply type your questions in the questions pane. If you have any technical difficulties or questions of that nature, please type those questions in the same pane and I will send you a response as soon as possible. Also on your control panel is a button to expand and minimize your panel. This is your grab tab. You will find the links to tonight's handouts in your handouts tab. To access these, simply click on each item. Make sure your computer is allowing pop-ups as these will open in the new browser window. Be sure to save these to your computer before the webinar ends. They will not be available once we end the webinar. Depending on how you're accessing tonight's webinar, you may or may not have the handout tabs available to you. If that's the case, please type your email address in the questions pane and I will send the handouts to you via email directly. Another feature in your control panel is the raise your hand button. During the webinar, the presenter may poll the audience. If this should occur, you can interact by clicking on the hand button. In essence, you are raising your hand. Following the webinar, you will receive a follow-up email with links to the ICore family of products available at Therapro. In this email, you will also receive a promo for $5 off your next Therapro order that is valid for the entire month. Check out the Therapro's website for a recording of this webinar, as well as the library of our other recorded webinars. Tonight's speaker is Angela Mahoney, and I am going to turn it on over.
Hello and welcome to tonight's webinar regarding ICore. I am really excited to share this career readiness curriculum that is really just designed to integrate communication along with hands-on pre-vocational training in a variety of areas such as the job readiness, clerical, retail food service, and grocery industry. A little bit about me. I have been in education for 18 years. I am currently working in an elementary setting and supporting middle school setting in Danbury, Connecticut. I absolutely love teaching full time, but also get this opportunity to really work as a consultant with a variety of therapists, educators, and parents just around the world. So it's been really neat. A little throwback to my beginning, years as an educator. This was back in 2001, and this is really where ICore began for me. I was young and right out of college and was hired as a work skills teacher in a private setting. And it was so funny to me because I remember saying right away I would love that job. And then once I got it, being like, well, what's a work skills teacher? What does that mean? So I really ended up taking over a classroom that was supporting 75 middle school and high school age students for employment. And from that is where this concept came that we'll talk more about, of having modules to really help them prepare for employment. But what's neat to look back on is that then I just was doing it, to help my small class, and now it's really grown to being able to share this concept of finding your spark with ICore with so many more. So currently I've gone from sort of my small classroom back in 2001 to now really being able to work with so many individuals and just creating a really nice skill building action step plan for really an engaged transition plan that includes hands-on related opportunities that are with data-driven reflection and helping all individuals prepare for employment. So tonight, I really want to do an overview for everybody. I know there's a lot of information to cover, and I don't want to talk too much in one area. I want to kind of give an overview and see after here where we land and what is resonating with people, and we can go further from there. But for tonight, really talking about, what are the soft and hard job skills? Let's look at some lesson planning and differentiation. What does that look like for all individuals? Some task boxes, how to create them, really breaking down the 5-module focus that ICore Work is built on, really talking about what does the career readiness model look like, some of the benefits to job data collection as well as reflection, the hows and whys of bringing in vocabulary and the importance of that so that it helps individuals feel more confident in a workplace, and then also why exposure to pre-vocational job opportunities is just so important. So again, so many things to talk about, and I welcome all questions as we go through. So at any time, please let me know. So before I move forward, I would love to launch a poll and just find out who is in the audience tonight. Always wondering, I know I talk with a variety of people that are supporting individuals for employment, and I love to hear, is it parents? I've definitely been working more with parents recently, administrators, educators, as well as speech language and occupational therapists. I know we all play a huge part in that teamwork, and I think it's always neat to see who is thinking of this transition time and in what way.
All right, so it looks like a big chunk of our audience tonight is OTs. We have 71% as OTs, 12% identifying as teachers, and 12% identifying as coordinators or administrators, and 6% identifying as parents or guardians.
Oh, that's great. So I love that it's such a range, and I welcome everyone here. I think, you'll really see whatever domain you're coming from, there's going to be something that you can kind of take away, I hope, as something you can either apply directly or bring back to the team and share. So thank you for being here. And again, I just want to reiterate, if things come up question-wise or if something pops out, please feel free at any time to kind of raise your hand and let me know. I would love to hear from you. So as we kind of get into this concept of thinking about vocational planning and job readiness, I just really want everybody to kind of take a minute and go back to that first job you ever had. Whatever age you were, how did you get the job? Think about, did you have any idea of what you were getting into prior, and did you need to learn new skills for it? And what did you learn from it? And with that new job, would you have done anything differently? Because I think, this is the important part for all of us to recognize. We've all started somewhere, and we've all been at a point where we've had to learn from those experiences. And I'm sure many of us can think of our first job and, realize it really wasn't very glamorous, but it really taught us a lot. So taking what we learned from those experiences and really trying with ICore Work and sort of vocationally planned modules to look at what can we pre-teach to help have a greater success with those first-time jobs and first-time employment experiences. So as we know, it's really been important recently. I think we've heard this concept of soft skills everywhere recently. I've been hearing a lot about the importance of social and emotional skills, and I thought this was an interesting article and quote with regard to really 50% of leaders are saying soft skills are more important than hard skills in a variety of industries. So what I want to really talk about as we move into soft skills is looking at what are those soft skills and what are ways that we can really help all individuals build those soft skills to help carry over into those workplaces. So let's talk about, what are vocational soft skills? Why should we be building them? How are some ways to build them? And what is a time frame for that? So we know soft skills are really a group of personality traits. It's things like social skills, communication skills, really those personal habits, having emotional empathy, teamwork, time management, just to name a few. But these are big, big topics, right? These are not easy things, soft skills. These are those interpersonal skills that some might not find natural. So we want to create opportunity to practice responses to these skills and these opportunities. So again, not a poll, more just a little visual for you just to think quickly and see if you can get get the quiz right. What do you think is the most important in-demand soft skill? According to LinkedIn Pulse, talking about getting your dream job, they had taken a group of 50,000 employees and kind of quizzed different people in these roles to see. And they had expressed, and it was a close call, that communication was really one of the most in-demand soft skills. Again, I don't think this is surprising information. If any of you are finding this to be surprising, please let me know, because I think we are seeing with society that we're really needing to kind of go back to communicating, eye contact, right? Looking up from technology, some engagement. So I think we're realizing, let's go back to building that soft skill of communicating with others so that then we can be successful in a variety of ways. So communication can look like a plethora of things, but when we're talking about vocationally related topics, it's things like asking for assistance, right? Clarification in the workplace, interviewing for a job, as well as really even how you greet your supervisor and your coworker. All of these components are daily communication that, again, as we said, may not be as smooth and easy for some individuals, so that creating opportunity to practice these soft skills really do benefit them over time. Some ways that we can build in vocation and communication are through role-playing opportunities. As we get into the modules, I'll break down what some of those can look like more. But again, really doing those small group discussions, role-playing, taking the time even at the younger years to say, how do you enter a room? Do you look down? Do you look up? Are you screaming? Do you cry? Or do you wave? Say, excuse me. Working out those moments of how to stay calm and just express or communicate, again, can start at an early age as a transition plan and then gradually increase with where you're practicing communication really in specific vocational opportunities and in ways that really make sense for the individual. Some ways here you can see are even just practicing bagging groceries. Would you like to use a paper or plastic bag? Think you have a good day? That's a fun little way to practice communicating at work or role playing, but in a classroom environment. You can even practice communicating by doing like a restaurant role play, setting a table, things like setting it for 4 people, seeing them, checking in on them. It's a neat, fun thing to do in the classroom or just in a small group setting. And then also practicing applying for a job, having an interview. You have a help wanted ad, you're interviewing the student, and they're working on answering some challenging questions. All these little 10, 15-minute practice opportunities over time really build a strong vocational communication foundation. With these soft skills, we're really working on independence as well. Ultimately for the individuals we're supporting to be successful, we want them to have really strong personal habits, to understand time management. We're looking for the understanding of work appropriate attire and self-advocacy. Again, these are big topics. Think back to when you had your first job. I can personally say I had to work out things such as self-advocacy and time management. Those were not easy for me in my first role or my first job, right? So these are things we want to teach individuals that may need more time to practice things before going into the real world in an environment that's a little more secure and helps them feel prepared to then be their best selves in the workplace. Things that you talk about when building independence or maybe expectations when you are in a workplace. You don't want to be silly if you are a professional. You don't go in and be goofy. You go in ready to work. You clock in, clock out. You want to make sure you greet your supervisor. You listen to directions. All things that can be supported to build a confident, independent individual as they get older. So why vocational soft skills? They're enabling people to navigate a variety of workplaces, right? It allows individuals to feel ready to work well with others. It helps encourage a positive, flexible attitude. We're increasingly encouraging asking for assistance. We know this, there's nothing wrong with asking for help, but it's really teaching individuals ways to feel comfortable to ask for help and in what way, as well as some social and emotional awareness. Again, navigating the workplace is not easy. So understanding what to talk about and with whom at what time is really important to review in stages over time as individuals go from middle school to high school and beyond. You know, I think it's really important when building soft skills to just allow conversation. You know, you can really learn so much in a small group with some questioning and some discussions. And you may not have a whole plan, but you at least have a starting point. So if you're moving into a new position or you're going to try a new job, you can do something like a KWL. What do we know? What do we want to know? And what did we learn? You know, you can do it as a group if a group is more comfortable, or if you're working with an individual, you can do it one-on-one. But what's interesting is prior to doing something, let's say like practicing for an interview, we could say, what do you want to know about the interview process? And then at the end, after practicing, reflect, what did you learn? And over time, I think you start to really see a pattern of growth and confidence and change if this is worked on in small increments over a year or two with an individual, or even longer. The key ultimately really is exposure, giving individuals an opportunity to really try through hands-on learning and allowing there to be differentiation so that all individuals can access these opportunities to build their soft skills through a variety of ways. Some of the ways that I find really helpful are video modeling. I use video modeling with YouTube frequently, and I've even been trying to really build more of the I Can Work videos just to help give some visuals related to what we're working on. But I love them in my own classroom because I find videos to be really engaging. They help me to target the desired behaviors. I can show the individuals or the students I'm working with what we're talking about. If we're talking or working for the clerical module and we're looking at office workers, it's a great way to pull up a video about working in an office. I can show self-modeling, and we can observe really what we're going to be then working on our own. So it's a really neat way to pair visuals with the hands-on component, as well as differentiate your lesson and give it a little bit of, you know, oomph. Like, I find it really exciting to incorporate videos as much as possible. You know, ultimately, anything we're doing related to soft skills, hard skills, working with, you know, hands-on activities, it's really just important to make it meaningful. You know, this isn't really just about having a job or learning a skill. It's really about exposure and practice that's going to lead to greater confidence and independence. That is, you know, a dream I had for so many, to just feel confident and ready to go on, find their spark, and live their best life. And I know that's what brought many of you here tonight, right? Is wanting to create a better future for those you believe in and those you're supporting. And so I commend you for that, and I appreciate you being here. And again, that's what tonight is about, is really finding ways to make it meaningful for all individuals. Before I get into the vocational hard skills, don't be shy if there's questions regarding, you know, some of the soft skills we talked about, or that small overview, or if you have suggestions, I welcome them all at any time. I'm going to also now shift into, you know, vocational hard skills, and really, again, looking at what are they, why should we be building them, how are some ways, and then also when. Again, just a quick little quiz yourself. Hard skills are teachable abilities, right? Or a set of skills that are easy to master quickly, quantify, or build over time? So they're definitely easy to quantify, which is what I like about them, and that's what I think I enjoy about this process of I Can Work. And you'll find with the task boxes to be also a process that makes sense, because we can see growth, we can track, and there is data to show where do we go to next. And I'll show you how as we move along. So first up are task boxes. Task boxes are compartments that contain materials for a certain activity. They're very short and structured, and they have a mix of familiarity with the challenge. There's 4 different types typically. Assembly is one, sorting is another, ones where you put in is the third, and then coordination is typically another type. Again, this can vary. These are just the 4 types I've seen in my travels or also used in my classroom. There's many benefits I find to task boxes. You know, I find they really encourage independence with the use of minimal or very little guidance. They're really great, excellent at helping individuals sequence and build those skills in the areas of sequencing a skill task. And they give a visual step-by-step presentation, which I think really shows friends, our expectations. And I like that that is how then they learn what the task is involved and how to then be independent with it. What I'd like to show you is a video about just a little clip on how to really set one up, and it's actually using an activity from the ICore curriculum. Hey everybody, task box time. I'm excited to share with you today's task box. It comes from the second module, clerical, in the I Can Work program, where students were learning how to file different word-related cards. So I have cards that you can print out from the module, right from the CD, and they have a variety of words such as coworkers, food service, grocery, retail, as well as supervisor. So what I did was I got a Tupperware, gave it a number, can be any number in your list, and also included on the lid the many steps to complete. As you can see, they're going to take out the bin, look at what the name is, and the vocabulary word, find the envelope, there's a bunch in the bin, that match with that word, and then file that word into the envelope. Once they're done with all the words that you have cut out, they can then take the bin and place it in the finished bin. So not only does this task box reinforce the filing, the matching, the one-to-one correspondence skills, it's building independence as well as helping to create that foundation awareness of all work-related words, which ultimately I truly believe helps build that successful foundation for all. All right, more task boxes to come. Thank you for watching. So as you can see, that was just a simple way to show in one bin. I had the step-by-step visual. It was clearly labeled with a number. All the materials are found in the one task box. And really, I was only expecting about 10 minutes for the task to take. But I was able to reinforce what we had worked on as a whole group out of the ICore Curriculum and clerical, as well as reinforce the concept of filing and these important work-related words. There's a variety of task box ideas that you can create in your own setting related to the I Can Work program. In the area of clerical, you can create a task box with folding paper in thirds, addressing envelopes, as well as filing. In the area of retail, you can create a task box with folding shirts, sizing shoes, and folding towels. For food service, there's sorting silverware, packaging place settings, sorting coins, and then in groceries, sorting a variety of grocery items, job match in a grocery store, and bagging groceries. Just to name a few, and again, we can talk further or we can, build on this more, but for tonight's overview, I just wanted to show you really the different ways you can use task boxes with I Can Work. So now you can see with task box data time, there's really an importance to tracking the completion of these task boxes and success with independence, what stood out, or their strengths and challenges. It's important in these early years to really show what was exposure to, what did they do well, did they do it one time only, and where was the growth. So be sure to really track with task boxes the completion and the success, so you have that important data as they become older and move towards more community-based vocation opportunities. So here you can see we're going to talk now about the career readiness module focus. This is really the root of that early years work of the middle school time, the high school, the foundation time. I really like to use these as the focus, and they can be introduced in the middle school in a different way, and then again in the high school, and then again in post-secondary. So, again, it's looking at a variety of ways to teach these 5 focus areas and in different ways, and we'll talk about that more. So module 1 is job readiness. Module 2 is a focus of clerical. Module 3, retail. Module 4 focuses on food service, and then module 5, grocery. as I mentioned earlier, ICore Work, we know, is this differentiated career readiness curriculum. And I would really love to know in the audience, are any of you currently using the ICore Work program and able to use it, with the setting you're in, and are you successful with it? So I'd love to hear who's using it, and we can talk more as we go.
All right, so it looks like most of our audience is not using it. About 90% have not used this before. We have about 11% saying that, yes, they do use it.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. I'm really so glad you're here, and I hope you're finding this to be, presented in a way that is manageable and understood, and that it's inspiring for sure. That's exciting. So again, although I'm talking about task boxes and different things, I'm now going to really get into sort of the ICore curriculum and really looking at the different ways we can integrate communication with hands-on pre-vocational training in these 5 module focuses. And at any time, ask those questions, especially if you haven't used the program before. Please let me know. One big component of ICore Work is differentiation. I think a component really when looking at vocation for all individuals is differentiation, right? It's how do we help all individuals find what sparks them to be their best selves and in what vocational environment. So through that, it's not as simple as one task for everybody to try. We know this. We have to know the learner, assess their strengths and challenges, adjust the assignments or what we're asking of them, question what is working and what's not, and then look at different curriculum approaches. So one thing with ICore Work is that there's over 20 pre-made differentiated lessons and worksheets. Every single lesson and activity comes with 2 levels, a level 1 that is text only, and then a level 2 that is picture supported. With that comes data collection. So you have 2 leveled curriculum pieces that then you're going to be able to individualize and create a career-focused data system. You're really going to focus on looking at tasks that are completed. Did you have to adapt anything? Were the individuals able to follow the sequence? As well as anything else that stands out in these 5 module areas. As you track these jobs, you're going to really focus on the reflection time as well as patterns and self-advocacy. So each time a job is completed, you're going to, with the individual, really take some time to track their success as well as what was challenging. As you do that, it's really important to give all individuals an opportunity to really think about what they thought of the task for the day. It goes back to that time where we talked about making it meaningful. It's not just a matter of folding in thirds or buttoning and hanging shirts or anything that we're doing in the modules. It's really important to pause each time at the end of a task and say, did you like your job today? Was it frustrating? Are you proud? Is there some things that you would do differently? Really giving all individuals an opportunity to express their take on it, because over time with that reflection there will be a pattern of areas enjoyed and areas that are frustrating, and you can really start to formulate a plan for the next step with that information. For example, we could see over time, so Bobby really enjoys a lot of the retail tasks, but whenever he does something in clerical, it's frustrating. Not just one time, we've tried it many times, and each time it's just not something he enjoys, but he's drawn more to retail. I would then be able to say, let's try an off-campus job or our next job in a retail environment and go from there. Maybe he really enjoys that setting. Now there's a confidence built there. He knows how to hang shirts, he knows the sizing, he understands sort of the vocabulary. Let's try that next. So that's just an example of how you can take reflection over time related to vocation and really make it meaningful. This is an example of 2 ways with the program that you can present reflection. One is a simple write it in. You can use your sample sentences for level 1, but level 2 has picture support. You can utilize these different visuals to help individuals point and say, oh, I thought my job was good today. You can circle it and write their response, or they just circle it and you can leave it at that. So it's a really nice way to support visually how they felt and also give all individuals a voice.
So a comment has come in on a problem that seems to be a lack of opportunities in the community. There's not many businesses in our area that will welcome their students. So how do you address that?
You know, one way I've had success is bringing something like the ICore Work program or portfolios of students to say, here's the work we've done prior. So if, let's say, you're going to a retail environment or to a grocery store, you can say, we've worked on these skills, we've done the pre-work, this is our success with this, we feel ready to take this on. And I think at times, having a chance to show them we've done some of the pre-work and we're really dedicated to making this successful allows the business to feel like you really are invested and really dedicated to the position that they are asking you to fill. I hope that helps. I know we can't engage back and forth, but I do hope you find that to make sense. I think additionally, if that environment that you're trying to really like seek out isn't working, continue to think outside of the box. I know I use social media frequently to reach out to community-based opportunities and really find different people that are open and willing, knowing the work you've put in to support individuals to, prepare for employment. So back to sort of just this differentiation concept, because this is something that's really evolved for me over the past few years as an educator. I really strongly believe in this third level of sort of support and access and to information through augmentative and alternative communication. So that to me has been in my classroom where I worked with more nonverbal individuals, a way to really take the visuals, but then I made them also movable and interchangeable. So I took what was already pre-done as visuals and then just really Velcroed and laminated them, and I was able to create a variety of options to present at one time. And I felt that by creating a different field and a variety of ways to respond, I was receiving richer reflection and richer opportunities to sort of learn likes and dislikes with specifically my nonverbal friends. So again, it's just a different way to present vocationally related vocabulary, information, as well as concepts to all individuals.
So another question has come in. Does your differentiation have suggestions for students with significant physical disabilities?
There are a variety of jigs and things that we will encourage. We have ways to do for folding in thirds to create a jig that you can put the paper into and it guides the paper. It is something that has to be made by the facilitator, but there is a whole breakdown on how to make a folding in thirds jig to support the fine motor component. There's also a folding towels board facilitator kind of guideline on how to create that so that there's a nice way to put this board in the middle of the towels and it helps keep it neat and folded into that shape with that support. So there are small adaptations within the program to guide, but as I use it more and more in my own classroom, I'm frequently coming up with new ideas as well. So it is an area that I'll continue to share on Facebook if you follow me and continue to growing because I do think that is important as well. So within the area of job readiness, that is that first module. When you receive the program, I knew as a teacher, I wanted to know, where do I begin? Yes, I'm on board. Yes, I'm excited, but I really wanted a layout. So we created these quick start cards just to help create a way to see, this is what it's about. This is what I need to order. These are the materials. Here is how I set up my classroom, and what do I need to do before my students or the individuals I'm servicing come to my room. So this is a sample of what you would receive as a quick start card with module 1. And on the back, a way to set up your workspace, depending on the number of students you're working with. Initially, that vocational space with job readiness is a little bit more front of the room, less group, but it's more related to practicing those concepts of practicing for interviews, what to wear to work, how to communicate with coworkers. In job readiness, module 1, you're really working on vocabulary related to even what a coworker is. What is a supervisor? What are some different jobs out there? Teacher, chef, what is an office worker? Also the concept of using a time card or signing in and out. I really, really enjoy building vocabulary paired with hands-on learning because I find the more exposure to words and materials and language, the more confidence there is in a variety of settings. So one way to do that is with word walls. I find them really engaging. I find whenever I'm working with students that are either in the classroom trying to find materials or ask for help with something, we're frequently going back and forth. And this is just a sample of one where I had taken each of the word posters that are in each of the modules. I cut up the words in the pictures and just made it something that they could access to help either reflect, to track jobs, or to ask for more work materials. Some tasks in this module 1, job readiness time, are things like work appropriate behaviors being reviewed, practicing applying for a job or want ad, dressing right for your job, as well as communicating with supervisors and coworkers. Some parts of the program each time will include signing in and out. I really find using a time card is such a great skill to incorporate into a classroom daily. You're reviewing first and last name, days of the week, you're practicing reading digital or analog time, as well as writing the date. It's just a really neat way to have a routine and practice those independent skills as well. Again, continuing to practice applying for a job, as well as having a ready to work job station with visuals that are all from the program with job tags, that vocabulary rich poster boards are hanging up, and it's really a nice organized space to help students prepare for job readiness and more. Some visuals that come with the program are already pre-printed and ready to use time cards, as well as time card instructions, as well as things like office worker, waiter, things you can do when you walk into an environment, such as shaking hands. So there are tons of visual supports, all related to these job readiness concepts, all throughout Module 1. So here is an example, and I really, again, it's just a sample. This is to show how could I do this in my setting. I know, again, as a teacher, I wanted to really show you almost like a little lesson plan. So this is something you won't receive directly with the program, but this is something I wanted to include for tonight to really show how can I do this. So here we are, month 1, week 1. 30 to 45 minutes, and really it's just twice a week. So it's almost with I Can Work like a little bit of a vocational vitamin, right? It's not having to be 2 hours every day or anything substantial. Twice a week, 30 to 45 minutes will really help so many individuals create a strong foundation for vocational success. So here you can see day 1 of that first week. Let's do a warm up. Let's show that video, find a YouTube video related to really self-advocacy. I love this one, state of mind, because it really shows if you believe in yourself, you can do so much. And it's such a motivating video to show to any classroom each time, and it's one I highly recommend. You're then going to really kind of get into our KWL we talked about. Let's just talk with our group. What are things, what do you want to know about how to be ready for work? And you can use the ready to work worksheets. Go ahead. So then also we have a 10-minute wrap up. Then you're going to talk about what did we learn about being ready for work. So again, you're using that worksheet included in the ICore Curriculum. And then afterwards, taking the time to say, what did we learn about being ready for work? And that's really your first day.
So we have a question coming in on, I'm interested in using this program with middle school students. Is this program used in a life skills program for grades 5 through 8? How are IEP goals written to address these skills within the school curriculum?
So that's a great question. I absolutely recommend starting this in 6th grade. Again, I think if you could even do once a week of 30 minutes at that level, if you had that opportunity, or if you could get up to twice a week of 30 minutes, that would be ideal. I think you'll see as we go, there are actually IEP objectives related to every module, and with the program, there are at the back of the program 50 different related IEP objectives. What I found, though, realistically, was it was easier in my classroom to say, students will be exposed to a variety of vocational modules related to these 5 areas. And then I was able to break those objectives down and just say, through weekly practice of hands-on opportunities related to these modules, they will show success, right? We have our data sample. You can also say that they will work on reflection and tracking their own vocational opportunities. And then also build on to it being maybe time cards or things that are related to independent skills. They'll come in and start and be ready for work by using the time card, or sign in and out using the time card. Those are some really nice middle school objectives, you know, really focused on just the time cards, coming in ready to work, as well as using reflection to see what they like and don't like. What I think is important to realize, I think, is that, you know, I find any part of this we could start at elementary, middle, and high school. And if you're willing to try it, I will work with you, and you'll see at the end ways to reach me, because I think there's so many strong ways to encourage starting the process earlier and in the earlier years. I do find the sooner we start exposing students or children to jobs that are in our community, we rise them to the challenge of be your best self, find what is a passion, see what motivates you, see what you don't like as well. So the sooner we can start exposing in small increments, I do think the better. So again, you can see here, this could be your first week using job readiness, where you're doing a little warm up with the video. You're using the ready to work worksheets. You're doing an all about me interest inventory. And then at the end of that inventory, you're having a great opportunity to say, let's share about ourselves, right? And again, building those confidence skills, soft skills of communication, as well as self-advocacy skills. So you'll also notice as we move along with the I Can Work program is that it's very consistent and routine. Each module has this overview that you will receive of what to order, what materials, how to set up your classroom, what should I do prior. I wanted it to be a curriculum, that anybody felt excited to try and also able to utilize. So throughout it all, there's scripting if you feel you need on what to say when to do what visuals, or you can take it and really just utilize it with what way you feel comfortable. This shows for clerical a little bit of a different room setup. I had talked about how in job readiness, you were sort of facing the board more, and we were doing a little more of those lessons related to job appropriate work attire and communication. But now with clerical, we're going to get really into hands-on opportunities. We're going to work with materials such as for mailings, envelopes, files, staplers, paper, envelope sealer, index cards. With module 2, you're working on things such as folding business letters into thirds, stuffing and sealing envelopes, filing alphabetically, as well as collating and stapling papers. So I would also love, before I forget, I want to show you this great way to do a little bit of like a memory game using vocabulary. So far we've talked about module 1 and module 2 vocabulary, but this is just a fun way to reinforce finding those words, saying those words, and understanding them.
Paper and paper.
Okay, my turn. Circle stickers. Index cards. Your turn.
It's possible. There's a paper. It's a match.
Good job.
So as you can see, it was just a fun way to really practice hands-on. He was so excited to find the paper match. Again, to hear him repeating the vocabulary made me excited as a teacher. He was engaged in some vocational vocabulary, words, and it really just was a nice way to tie in what we had just worked with. Here are some examples of clerical work in the module. You're really working on using those visuals. You have jigs, as you can see, where you're sliding the paper in. They're helping fold in thirds. They're stuffing into envelopes. We're tracking that data. It's very important. And you can also see there's a jig for where to address envelopes. So there's some nice visuals that really help support success, independence, as well as support those that may need a little more of those fine motor supports with some of the paper and the manipulation. I would love to also show you another video related to stuffing and sealing envelopes. It's a neat little video related to how to set up the work area and just how that left to right sequence looks and how it can work so well. So again, you saw he had the sealer, the envelopes, the paper, there was the left to right sequence, he put it right in the finished bin, and really was very focused and was proud of his work at the end. It was neat to see. I think too, what I should mention is that really, you're not going to give hundreds and hundreds of papers and envelopes and things to file and shirts to button. Throughout this process, it's not to be frustrating. It's meant to expose, have variety, and then take an opportunity to say, what did you like or not like about this task? Which then again leads to further employment of ideally things that are more enjoyable, and then there will be greater success. Within each module, and here are some examples from module 2, there are visual supports for everything. I really found it important in my classroom and with the individuals I've been supporting to really show expectations of what is acceptable work and what it should look like finished, and things that aren't acceptable, so that at the end of the task, when we are tracking that data and we're looking at the work, they're able to be a part of the process and say, that doesn't look like acceptable, that's more unacceptable, and hopefully feel inspired, or we can talk about that, what doesn't work, what didn't work, what can we do better next time, and then grow from there. Again, here's an example of the observation table within the curriculum, that opportunity to kind of note the task, what was done, how many were completed, were cues needed, any adaptations, how many steps, and the time allotted. It wouldn't be one time you would be exposing the individual to these tasks. So what's nice is you really have these observation tables, maybe year 1, in year 2, or year 3, and you can compare that growth over time, which really then leads to a nice, strong transition plan. Again, especially if you're starting in those middle school years. If this is what you're focusing on in your classroom or in your sessions, it's a really nice time to show that growth over those times. I wanted to take a minute too to show you again, what would that look like? If I were to run this into my, in my classroom, what would that lesson plan look like? So we're at that month 2, week 1. We've completed job readiness for a month. Now clerical is month 2. Still looking at twice a week, 30 minutes or 45. The 5-minute warm up is a little varied. One day it's a video, clerical setting, and one day it's a who am I, all about an office worker. Those worksheets are found differentiated in all the curriculums, as I'll show you as we go. Again, you do your little warm up, we learn about an office worker, and then we get into the hands-on activity of folding papers in thirds. You're going to try that those 2 days that week, track the completion, have the students reflect, and continue to build in that area of clerical. As you can see, this is module 3, retail. This is a similar breakdown where it's showing what are things you can get prior to starting, what are things you need to have set up in the classroom, and things that you should have done prior to implementing the module. What I like about retail is that you could really, again with social media, kind of reach out and say, anybody cleaning out their closet, or any donations. It's things that really you're going to get hopefully donated that you can then use for this module. So once you collect those button-down shirts or the shoes and some of the other components, you'll really have those to use over and over again.
So a question that came in is, do students take apart the task after finishing one, or are they put aside for a staff member to take apart at a later time?
So I've done it a variety of ways. I've been sneaky and I've hired other students to do an in-house job and help me take them apart. But typically, I wouldn't recommend having individuals that have completed the work, whether it's task box or in the modules, to take it apart, because I do find that to be a little bit of a confusing message for the work they've completed. So I typically will keep it assembled and to the side, and then we'll either have another person help me at a different time as a part of their work, or ask a staff member to assist in taking it apart. That was a really good question, though. Very important. Thank you. These are great, and I appreciate the questions, everyone. Thank you for sending them in and keeping me on my toes. It means a lot. All right, friends. So again, we're into module 3, similar idea of vocabulary. I know I keep talking about it because I do find it to be really important. I think it's nice to label visual hands-on with what it is, to give it a name, and then also it's seen in the community, right? Who doesn't go to like a shop and buy clothes and see all these components in those retail settings? So one fun way I find to also work on vocabulary is through bingo. This is a sample of bingo cards I made in my classroom just using the visuals, and we had so much fun with it, I have to tell you. It was really neat to be able to see and hear the kids engaging in words like supervisor, you know, canned goods, paper bag, envelopes. Like, it was neat. And they were just reviewing all of those words related to the different jobs. Some tasks in module 3 that you're going to work on with retail are things like sizing and boxing shoes, hanging shirts and pants, really practicing folding shirts and pants, as well as sizing and pricing clothes. Here you can see with module 3, there are many visuals, which is really neat. Again, once you get the program, you're able to print out what you need and really have ready-made visuals to show individuals that this is acceptable, this isn't, as well as to practice sizing shirts and shoes. So there's visuals for how to line the shoes up that you can print out. There's also visuals for size tags that you can have printed, laminated, and have practicing for just hanging those shirts. I wanted to show you an example of a video of a student really in a work area where he was using these visuals as well as the sizing tags to really practice for a retail environment. So as you can see, it wasn't, you know, glamorous, but it really was neat to see the multi-step process, putting the shirt on the hanger, finding the size, placing the tag on, and then hanging it correctly onto the rack. So again, multi-step and really working toward those independent skills. And that's a life skill too. We all know this, right? Hanging shirts, folding shirts, towels. These are things that are also going to carry over into the everyday independence, not just vocationally. So it's a nice opportunity to really work on both those life and vocational skills. Again, you're going to really see a lot of pieces that you're going to be excited that you can kind of they're already pre-made and you can print, right? And already have made, they're going to be something that you'll feel, okay, I just need to like set this up. But I really try to create visuals and supports so that all people that were ready and facilitators to implement this would feel excited to really show it off to a variety of individuals. I knew for myself as an educator, I was adding visual supports myself to everything just to include all learners. And so I really wanted to eliminate a lot of that for the future facilitators to really help more individuals access these opportunities.
So another question that's come in is, if a student is in a program for 7 years, how do you cycle through the program? Do all students work on the same modules at the same time?
Typically, depending on your grouping, I have done it where, yes, I've had one group for the year follow the same plan where we've exposed in these small increments. But if you're finding certain groups are moving quicker than others, you are able to pace the program. You may need to end up doing stations in a little bit of a different model where station 1 is maybe still focusing on job readiness, or they're focusing on maybe more of the soft skills, or maybe some friends need some more practice in the hard skill area of these clerical skills or this retail skill, but then other ones are moving on to doing more in-house jobs around the building. So if you are with your level 1 to 3 students, maybe, you know, those first years, they're following a different program model, whereas you have your other friends that are coming in and they're signing in, they're going to their in-house job, they're coming back, signing out, and reflecting. So you have variations of accessing the program, but at different independent levels, as well as exposure levels. So here you're going to see with retail that this similar table, you're going to still be tracking that data, what ones were completed, how well did they do. And again, you don't want the individual just to practice boxing and pairing shoes one time. So you will come back to this, typically twice in a school year, or again, depending on your model, maybe just once that year in the middle school level, but then doing it more frequently as they move forward towards being older and then applying it to off campus. I wanted to, again, really just show you what does that first week or 1 week look like using this program. Again, I'm taking this really from a variety of professionals that have given me feedback and then what it's looked like in my own classroom for the past 18 years. So I've really found it beneficial to do a little bit of a warm up. So you'll see here I'm using the Who Am I a Cashier. Each module has that little Who Am I differentiated worksheet to really help introduce some of the jobs we're going to learn about in that module. But then on the next day, I did a nice little video regarding, you know, professionalism in the workplace. Again, I love those videos. I think they're engaging. I think they show modeling, and I also think they really help pair what we're doing with the real world. Super important that the connection's made and then it's meaningful, not just busy work. Then we're going to kind of, you know, you're getting, oh yeah, go ahead.
So another question is, do you ever have the students complete real clerical work for school, like handouts for students, etc., or are the clerical tasks just blank paper? Think of ways to make it meaningful.
Absolutely. I think ideally, once you can show that they're successful at the expectation, as soon as it can be real relatable work, the better. Absolutely important. Again, whether maybe you just need those visuals to benefit acceptable, unacceptable, and you're setting up your work area, utilizing that same format you learned with ICore work, you are absolutely, I think, encouraged and like welcome to take any opportunity that is really meaningful, real life, you know, community-based work, especially if it's helping their school and they're going to maybe see it sent home or it will arrive at home. I think that is an absolute perfect tie-in to the skill practiced through that initial introduction. Yep, great suggestion. So here, you know, and then again, I think I want to stress, you're going to practice that buttoning shirts activity twice, but not for endless time. It's really maybe 20 minutes after your warm up, and then you're going to take the time to reflect on that task and track how they did, and encourage the individuals to really be honest. Did you like working with retail materials, or was it not your favorite thing, right? And maybe we need to come back to it or try it again. So, question, what is the top industry where we think soft skills are most common? Again, just kind of quiz yourself, but I just want to show you sort of where my thinking with these modules may have come from. So restaurants. I think we all can kind of picture, yes, it's important in a restaurant environment to have those interpersonal soft skills, the eye contact, really taking the time to make sure you're reading the room and you're aware of who you're engaging with, especially customers. So that leads us into that food service module. Again, another one where it's just those foundation jobs. We're really talking about, where do we begin? Thinking back to your first job. You know, I know there are a variety of opportunities, but there are some basic foundation jobs that are offered to those individuals that are just learning the workforce. So that's what sort of led me to these focused jobs of, you know, clerical, retail, food service, grocery, and those areas. So with that said, with food service, here's your quick start guide. What are some things I need? What do I need to make sure I have in the setting that I'm going to be working in? And what should I set up prior? As well as workspace wise, really working maybe in some smaller groups. You can even encourage coworker communication and, you know, ways to engage asking coworkers for more materials or role playing, especially in the food service module. There's the vocabulary again, super important, related just to the items found in food service areas. And some tasks such as setting and clearing tables, assembling place settings, practicing folding the napkins for table setting, prepping condiments, as well as sorting and making change. Again, we're going at, you know, looking at this as really a whole learner perspective of, yes, it's vocationally related, yes, it's transition planning, but it's also life skill building. It really is helping individuals learn ways to set the table, really practice, right, understanding tools that they're using in everyday life, as well as those real life role playing opportunities. What I like about these modules are these are jobs and things you can see in everyday life. So again, if you're in the community, you can point out the vocational opportunities that you see at a restaurant. Oh, there's a waitress, there's a hostess, right? There's a chef. What are the materials they're working with? What equipment? So those are things that are important to help build understanding, accessibility, and confidence to what is available in the community. Continuing with the visual supports, every module, including module 4, has visuals to print out and show what is the expectation for this task. This is acceptable work, this would be unacceptable, and they're all pre-made and ready to just print and use. And continuing with that data tracking process through this observation table. Again, utilizing a year or maybe twice a year to really compare that data, or over 2 to 3 years, depending on the individual you're servicing and the time frame you're servicing them for. ICore work can really be made tailored to their needs. And then here's another lesson plan just to give an example, utilizing that first week to really talk about the bus person job. What are we going to learn about? Having a video related to working in a restaurant, practicing the skill twice that week for 30 minutes of folding napkins into a rectangle, and then taking the time to really track and reflect. Did you enjoy working with materials in the food service industry? Did you enjoy learning about a bus person? Do you like going to a restaurant, and would you like to work in one? All these conversations and topics and little pieces build to a whole in the end and really help all individuals find what is more of a desire and hopefully a passion. Lastly is the grocery module. Again, you'll see similarity of what I need to do and when, and I hope you find that to be encouraging and comforting with implementing the program. I want it to be a quick, I know where to go and what to do. This is another area that's a really nice way to reach out maybe to someone on social media and just say, I'm collecting recyclables, or to save your own. And really, once you build your grocery materials that you save, you're set to reuse those for quite a while. So although there's a little bit of collecting and work in the beginning with the program to get the hands-on materials, once you have them, they're really easy to reuse and have over time. Here is a setup where I found with the grocery items needing to be a little more accessible and different, I found putting them in the middle of the space and separating the tables was a really nice way to work on stocking shelves, practicing bagging groceries, working on sorting hard and soft, cold and not cold, and different ways to use those larger, more bulky grocery items successfully. Some vocabulary words related are things like soft grocery items, those concepts of what is cleaning items, what are cold ones, what's a cash register, things like that. And then practicing those tasks of how to stock a shelf, inventory of items, what are things that go on the bottom of a grocery bag and on the top, why do we separate cleaning and food items? Again, we're back to sort of that life skill vocational concept where really we're trying to help individuals learn even how to do a shopping list, right? And find items on a shelf related, understanding hygiene items, cleaning items, food items, as well as those categories. All movement-based learning, which I really think up and moving and hands-on learning really builds that confidence and those successful opportunities. More visuals included, really showing ways to show individuals these are cleaning items. If you sort them here and these are soft items, they go here, that's acceptable. Here's how to stock these items, these are where they go. And again, through each lesson plan and activity, there is a whole guide for every facilitator to show, do this, say this, support here when. Some may want that and some may not, but when you receive the program, at least know that it's there to guide you in the beginning. And then again, with our data, that will look familiar. You're in module 5 now. Maybe it's your first time going through it, but you'll see over time, it becomes very routine with the systems and how to implement them into your classroom or in your setting. And then there's the lesson plan for that first week with the 5-minute warm-up related to the who am I, as well as a video on that next day. Working on that 20 to 30-minute activity related to that week, and then taking the time to track and reflect. So here we are, you are the professional of the month. So what I think is really neat about this, and I found exciting, was I wanted to mimic sort of the employee of the month concept in my classroom. I wanted to take time each week to really point out things we had worked on, almost like an exit ticket, but in a positive build-up way. So I would really take the time to point out someone I felt either signed in and out every time, asked for help, whatever I was really encouraging, or whomever I was trying to build up. And I would present them with this recognition, and I would make an Employee of the Month award board, and their name would go up. And it was such a neat way to tie in what we were working on, as well as that workplace connection and sort of those bigger concepts of Employee of the Month. With that said, this one's a little more elementary looking, but you can take the concept of work recognition or a certificate or pointing out who did, the right things that week and really showcase and highlight. And I find that to be a nice way to tie in each week's focus with what you're doing throughout the year for your vocational program. So again, just think about what are those 5 differentiated modules that we were really talking about tonight, right? What is really the foundation, the building blocks to helping all find their spark? I really think it should start with that job readiness focus where you're really building those soft skills, and then break it down into a few areas that are manageable to try a plethora of skills in, such as clerical, retail, food service, and grocery. This is to help really just see if I have a whole school year or 12 months, what would that look like utilizing I Can Work Alone? Really for that recommended 2 days a week, 30 to 45 minutes. And as you can see with the differentiated lesson plans, it's a really rich program. It has variety. You're going back to soft and hard skills. It's not just one time. You can create some stations. There's really nice movement and really just a variety of ways to make every little bit that you're doing count. So a component, once you've really introduced the foundation work, where you've done more of your work in your classroom or in your one-on-one setting or in your home, are really those in-house job opportunities. I really recommend beginning those in the middle school years, and those can be things done either in your home or in your school setting, or within that small sort of safer environment, not quite the bigger community environment. Things like recycling, mail delivery, copying services, cleaning classrooms, or even those mailings that were mentioned earlier. Those are all wonderful opportunities to allow individuals to grow outside of the tabletop task, to more of engaging with others and practicing their soft skills paired with the hands-on skills. You can use the visuals found in the program along with organization of those time cards and those work bins to really create a nice space to have in-house jobs accessible. You can create where they sign in and either grab a job, they're assigned a job, they put that name tag on. And I do believe when you create routine with expectation of signing in on a job tag, it's a recognition of I am ready to work. It is time. And there's a different era of readiness and focus. One fun little tip I did in my classroom recently was I took all these different jobs I had available and I wrote them on little index cards and I created a grab a job. I had found students in my classroom sought the same job because they knew it, they either enjoyed it, it was routine, or it was comfortable. And a part of growth and learning is to challenge yourself, as we all know, and to try new things and things that may be frustrating or a dislike, just to see if maybe I've grown, or is this something I might really not want to do further. So I always recommend trying things more than once, definitely, especially things like vacuuming, laminating, or maybe even shredding, things that are a little more maybe hands-on, loud, or uncomfortable. But either way, with grab a job, you can mix the jobs up and you basically just encourage the individual to pick a job and try it. It's a great way to create variety as well as encourage change. After those in-house jobs or paired with in-house job opportunities, start to think in the high school years, what can we try off campus? How can we take what we have learned and practiced and built as a foundation and apply it to off-campus opportunities in areas such as hotels, grocery stores, and office settings, possibly in hospitals or restaurants, a variety of places, with the hope that the 5-module work you had done foundationally will give a strong starting point for what would be a good area to go with, as well as for confidence for that individual to feel ready to go try that next level. Some home opportunities. I think home is a crucial component in all of this, and I'm so glad to hear there are parents here and tuning in, because I really think home drives so much of the independent skills and expectations, as well, as we know. Create that chore chart, have your child help set the table, make their bed, sort and wash the laundry. They could fold. They can also do the silverware. They could do their socks and folding their socks and sorting them. Also create a work area if you'd like, a work skills center in a way, and have tasks such as filing by letter or word, or practicing some of the module skills. Truly, every little bit matters and counts and really can encourage independence at home. So, again, this is just my take on the importance of helping all find their spark. And in my opinion, when to build those hard and soft skills, I really think those elementary years are really important. Now, that is just the starting point. If already you're supporting someone in middle or high school, there is so much time and so much to be done. So please don't be discouraged. This is just a guideline of when to possibly introduce certain things and try them. So again, in those elementary years, the task boxes are a great system to encourage and support and introduce. Work on responsibility with chores, communication in a variety of settings, as well as those vocabulary words. Using middle school years to really introduce jobs in the community, talk about what they're seeing, what they're observing, explore materials used, what are expectations, as well as trying in-house job opportunities. So in the high school years, really committing to that communication at work and talking about how do you say hello and goodbye to your supervisor? How do you engage with your coworkers? What is that work appropriate attire? Time management skills, continuing those in-house job opportunities, maybe extending the time or the challenge in those environments, and then extending to those off-campus job opportunities. And then building into those post-secondary years where you're really doing the community-based learning or really solidifying the time management skills with greater independence, encouraging applying and interviewing with support, as well as not weekly, but daily off-campus job opportunities. So I know this was a lot of information shared, and I know that this was a simple overview. You know, I would love to hear how everybody's feeling. Do you feel informed and motivated to implement a strong, data-driven career readiness program? How are you feeling at like the end of this webinar this eve?
Okay, so it looks like a lot of our folks attending tonight do. 74% say they do, 26 are saying to some degree, and there's 0% saying not at all.
Well, that's exciting. Thanks, friends. I'm so glad because really, I was hoping you'd feel exactly like you had some sparks, some ideas, things that really helped you realize the work you're doing is so important. And you're really, most of you probably already doing this, but this at least gives you a framework and a guideline and a little bit of maybe some data collection systems paired with some visuals. Because really, this quote resonates with me every time I start back into the school year. Truly we know this. Every child you pass in the hall has a story that needs to be heard. And, maybe we really are the ones to hear it and to encourage their story, right? And at times I think we get busy and caught up in all of what we're doing because we're so passionate that we don't maybe pause enough to think, how can I help you be your best self and reflect through this journey and understand and find your spark to just be your best you, right? So again, I'm so glad so many of you are feeling so confident. I sincerely welcome so many questions and reaching out. I would love to continue to move forward and have you join future webinars. I'm going to really break down modules by module and look at each week lesson planning, how to implement it, what videos I recommend, what modifications I've made, and really make it a rich training opportunity. And then again, if there's questions, yeah, please.
So we have lots of questions and comments coming in. So one comment is, I agree the home component is important. My guy can do a lot at school, but crossing environments is difficult. Another quick question that has come in, our computers no longer have the CD or DVD player. Is there another way to access what is on the DVD or CD? Or is it all in the book?
Great question. I have had to utilize an external CD-ROM reader as well for my computer. I do know I also still have the paper manual that you can receive with the PDF CD-ROM option. And unfortunately, you might have to do a little more copying from the manual, a little old school versus printing out, but you still should be able to access with the manual everything that's on the CD.
All right, another comment that's come in is the presentation helps me understand things happening at school. That's from a parent. And a question, that's the one we just answered. How do you get administrators to buy into this program if no life skills program exists in school but is needed?
I think if you take the time to show that it is data-driven, that it has a process that shows building a foundation paired with IEP objectives and goals related to transition, I do find they would see the benefit. Initially, I understand if there isn't a life skills program, that is a little tricky, but I think our role is to encourage, if someone does have an IEP or a need for transition planning, then we need to create that opportunity, and no better time than now. And here's the way how.
All right, and a comment is, I often recommend your site to the school. They are receptive, so it's out there.
It means so much. And I know, the parents that are out there talking about the transition a little bit from how do I apply it at home, or that, this helps me see what is being worked at for transition. I think that's huge. Parents, you have such a strong voice in this journey. And I know so many of your team members at school want to be on the journey to helping your child be independent and grow in these areas. So continue to encourage it, continue to monitor what the exposure is, and that all individuals are having opportunity to differentiated learning and ways to try more tasks that are varied so they can grow over time. So I wanted to share, if you do want to follow more of me and what I do, I welcome it. I'm very hands-on. I'm very dedicated to helping so many individuals either facilitate ICore work or access it. So please continue to follow, on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook and through Therapro, as we are always evolving, always brainstorming, and always coming up with new ways to help so many succeed.
All right, we have a couple more coming in. So
Sure.
I'm interested in more construction mechanical type of skills for my son. Could you steer me in the right direction of similar programs to this one that would address that?
That is a great question. I may need you to reach out and I can research a little bit. I cannot think of specific ones currently that are more mechanically related, but I will definitely do some research. And if you do send me an email, I will follow up for sure.
All right, and then I find myself having a hard time getting other staff on board to implement a structured work skills program. How do you recommend presenting info to them? I am so glad to have this resource, and thank you for all you do.
Oh, thank you for that. That was sweet to say. I appreciate that. And I find if you are passionate behind what you are teaching and instructing, the energy flows, because I get it. It isn't something that's necessarily encouraged to work on, folding in thirds for 20 minutes or, what have you. But I think if you, again, are motivated and feeling like, okay, this is going to really, let's see what you like, let's see what you do, let's track how you're feeling, and you show that the individual you're helping is responding, I sincerely feel those professionals would really see the benefit and could not deny trying to really support the work you're doing.
All right, another question, is there a Twitter to follow?
Oh, good point. No, friend. I'll have to work on that. No, currently I only have LinkedIn and Facebook, but I will work on setting up a Twitter account. I love that suggestion.
All right, and are there tech-related programs that you know of?
Oh gosh. So again, I'm with you. I wish I knew more. I think part of what sparked ICore work for me was having a lack of an ability to find what I was looking for to sort of expose my students to, which is what led me to creating what I have. So to date, I do not know off, again, the top of my head, but I have no problem researching a little bit and connecting with you outside of tonight's webinar and brainstorming some ideas and finding things to help you for sure.
All right, so I think that is all the questions that we have coming in. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I hope you can join us for our next webinar in October on integrating behavioral, sensory, and mindfulness interventions in your pediatric therapy practice. That is going to be on Tuesday, October 29th. And as I said, there is going to be a follow-up email with a link to the Therapro website with all of Angie's wonderful products. There's going to be a promo code in there. And the video, once it's available, will be posted on the Therapro website. So if you didn't have a chance or you have friends that want to show this to, then the link will be there eventually. All right. Any other comments, Angie?
Other than, sincerely, I appreciate you taking the time this evening and for the work you do to really help so many, and thank you.
All right. So we are going to close it out. Thank you all for coming tonight, and we hope to see you next month.